come down dramatically. But I'll give you an example. With the food industry and food in general to the public, the challenge is the cost of food, because we have this notion of food being accessible and available, healthy food to the masses. Yet if you look at the cost of that healthier choice food, oftentimes it's much more expensive. And so I'll give you an example that happened within the network. We developed a platform technology for a company for delivering of omega-3 fatty acids. It was better than their existing technology. And when we approached the company said, hey, wonderful. But the president of the company says, we're going to put it on a shelf because the price point's wrong. And we won't be able to use that technology in our existing food products. And so that's the challenge, Rachael, with things around food in the food system. The healthier choice, and how do you make it affordable to those who really need it?
Thanks. So before I pose the $10 million question, can I open it up? Does anyone have any questions for our panel? Brad.
So I think everybody can hear me. So great talks, all of you. Thank you very, very much. Let me frame this with the human health side that I know the best. So in human health, I think we've done ourselves a disservice by what I'll call genetic exceptionalism, and it's by making genetics and genomics something so extreme and exceptional that now to get human subjects through REB approval and IRB approval at the U.S. equivalent, I mean, it's become a nightmare, really. And so here you all have talked about the aquaculture side, the ag side of things, and given great examples. With only a couple exceptions, that they're all non-GMO examples. And yet, in BC, I mean, I think everything, we have this genetic exceptionalism again, where anything that's using genomic technology is viewed as GMO. And I think that's just put into that camp, and you have this widespread public opposition then, that we're meddling in something that we shouldn't be meddling in. So I guess I'm just asking all of you to just comment and say, so what can we do to better inform people, better educate people, make people more informed of what we're actually doing, and the impacts of the technology, I mean, the benefits, the risk benefits of the technology that we're bringing to the public, and how we can better do that, because it's a real challenge, I think, for us. I mean, we have some municipalities, I'm sure, as you're all aware, that are just flatly coming out against. They're really talking about things that in a way they're not really informed. They don't have all the information on the table, and they're making some pretty broad rules and regulations for those municipalities. So.
Yeah, that's a tough one. I'll tell you, we get asked that question a lot at Guelph about the whole influence of GMO. And, I guess what I'll say to you is that, food for the longest time was viewed as a lifestyle choice. And if you compare, GMO in, say, pharma, people don't have as much concern because it's saving a life. And I think if we accept this philosophy of food being a means for preventative health care, and that it could potentially save your life, and we need to keep on promoting that. That aspect of, I hate to make it extreme, but a life and death situation. I think we've learned a lot through that whole debate on GMO of what not to do, right? The lack of transparency of the research, right? So if we continue, I think we need to mount a very, very aggressive educational program on what we're doing on the GM side and the potential risk-benefit kind of analysis, and continue that, because we're going through that debate right now, Brad, with the nanotechnology. And that's why the food companies are shying away from it, because they're saying, my God, we're going down this GMO path again. So they're trying to be as transparent now as possible. But you'll have that philosophical debate.
So Rickey, though, just let me follow on and just say, though, I mean, I think what you're all talking about, though, is using genomics to just accelerate traditional plant breeding and aquaculture, in the aquaculture side of things. So are we doing a good enough job making the public understand that? Or are they just automatically grouping this and saying, well, you're using DNA technology, gosh, it must be GMO?
So, I mean, I think it's very important we make the distinction to the public that there's read-only genomic technologies which are just using it as an assay to understand what's in each plant, which is very distinct from engineering the nice thing about plant breeding is that there's centuries of thousands of years of history where we were not using genetically modified techniques, and yet we were making massive changes to plant genomes. I think there's a dialogue to be had, the story to be told about what plant breeding has always been delivering to the population, and that is essentially new variants of plants every time you go to the store. It's a new cross that's been produced, and it's never been evaluated properly. And there's that's on one side, and on the other side you have the very highly regulated GMOs, where they're the only plants where we know exactly what the components are. But that debate has been had, and those educations have been attempted. It's almost like the seeds have been cast already, and people are in their positions. So we definitely have to approach it from starting from a less than optimal position. It's now a matter of trying to break down biases that people already have because of the past mistakes.
Yeah, just a couple of things. This is a very complicated topic, obviously. And one of the things that, and has come up in our office quite a bit, I just have to think, I'm not the tree fruit specialist, but there's been some talk about the Arctic apple. And we get asked a lot, how much are you guys involved in, GMO research? And one of the things we constantly have to point out is that GMO is probably the wrong word, right? I think it's the wrong word. If I take a bunch of plants and I pick the biggest plant or the biggest fish, I cross it, I take the biggest fish and I cross it, don't use any laboratory stuff or anything like that. That's a genetically modified organism. Full stop. It is. It's not genetically engineered, but it's genetically modified. And so we're always trying to educate, you guys upstairs that you got to be careful about the terminology. And I do think that to some extent the public has a certain acceptance for using genetic technologies for developing things like pharmaceuticals or for reading and informing. So if you use like a genetically engineered yeast or something to get rid of your ethyl carbamate from your wine or to produce something, it's far enough removed that people don't get too upset about it. But as you move closer and closer to something that surrounds, thinks, or walks, and has eyes and coughs and stuff like that, then they start to get a little bit more closer to the subject, and then they start making sort of philosophical judgments on it. So, I don't really know what the answer is to that. A lot of times, you can't always, even if you have the best science in the world, and there are a lot of papers that say, when you use just classic breeding, it's such a crude approach to genetic improvement, whereas that, if you use like a transgenic approach, it is very precise. You know exactly what's going on. So there's a lot of scientific arguments that you can make to somebody that makes it sound like it's very good. The problem is that you can't always win the public with science. A lot of people say you've got to have good science, and I agree, we definitely have good science. You use science to make decisions. I think you use science more correctly to inform decisions. But at the end of the day, you have to ask yourself, is it right, and do people like it? If people don't like it, it's like you're no longer in a scientific discussion. You're in a philosophical debate. And a lot of scientists forget that. And a lot of times you'll go into the discussion, you want to try and have this, well, you got this point, I got this point, you got this point. Well, it's not really about science anymore. Someone just doesn't like it, and that's all there is to it. And so you've got to kind of respect that position. So that's what and that's why I think adding the social component to these studies is actually very, very important. Thank you.
Thanks. So we will just take one or two more questions. If you want to direct it to one of the panelists, please do.
It's a follow-up to what we just discussed, and I think there might be a point of view where I feel the public has a legitimate concern here, and it might be my background in physics. I'm thinking about complex systems and everything being connected. So when we talk about the fisheries, the farmed salmon, there's a lot of discussion of the wild salmon going by, what effects are transmitted there, are the sea lice jumping. It's just a bigger picture, and in agriculture, right, you do your crop, you optimize it, do you know what field will be next to your crop? The pests can't go there, do they die, do they move to the other side, what will happen there? It's just a very, and in the Tour de Force, which was really great, the first presentation, and all these examples, watershed, microbiome, and so on, it's very, very complex. So for me as a member of the public, I know we're tinkering with the natural way of how this is done. There have always been mutations, things have changed, and I just trust that it was okay the way it happened in evolution. But if I start as a scientist myself tinkering with something that's connected to everything else really, I want to be assured the scientists know what the consequences are. So GMO would be clearly affecting it at the core, at the nucleus. But the farmed salmon, it's not GMO, but it is the same concern. I'm now changing the system. Who can tell me what the consequences will be? So looking at all the research, if it could be presented in terms of impact in the overall system, which is very, very hard because it's so complex, would, I think, convince the public much more.
So I think that's a good comment, understanding the larger context in which all of these are going on and the influence it will have on other systems.